Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. If you don't mind, subscribe. Well, this is my typical breakfast. This is what Grace carries out to me. Thought I might entertain you with what I have out here in the province. I'm not living city life, as you know. Give you an idea of what's going on. Toast, as you can see. Now this is pan toast, not made in a toaster. Grace does this in a pan. And it's buttered. And this is actually grape jelly or jam. And it's one of the common preservatives that we can get at the grocery that normally in San Carlos. And you don't have a lot of selections. Typical what you'll find is the grape, strawberry, and occasionally you can find the pineapple. That's about the only selection we have in my area. And this is uncured bacon. It has no salt. It's not been cured. And as you can see, Grace prepares the eggs to perfection. And then we have a glass of milk, icy cold milk. It's got ice in it. And this milk is actually powdered milk. Fresh milk here, to me, it has a metallic taste to it. And I just don't like it. And it's in a carton and it's not refrigerated. And it just has a weird taste, like it's got metal in it. And then, you know, I have my daily vitamin. See if I can get around here to where you can see what it is. Well, I thought it had a big label, but there's Centrum's, and I think it's silver. And then we have my blood pressure. And my blood pressure is staying normal, which I'm glad. I've had to change medications a few years back a couple of times in order to get it stabilized. But this is my typical breakfast. And I appreciate everybody taking time out to see what's going on for breakfast. I know it's not entertaining to see an old man eat breakfast. But in the meantime, tell you a little story. I was a young man, still in my early 20s, and I was in between jobs, and I decided to work for a local dealership. Now this is before Nissan took on their name as Nissan and dropped the Datsun name. I worked at a Datsun, or Datsun, some people will call, dealership for a few months. And I was thinking about that this morning. We had a customer. It just so happened I was just finished up a job, and I thought it was odd. The customer actually brought the vehicle inside the garage himself. The service manager says he won't let nobody drive his car. I said, okay. And he wanted a brake job for the front wheels. I noticed the tires were brand new. I can't recall the model of car this was at the time. Just too many years have passed. So I put it on the lift. Well, he put it on the lift, and I put the sports under it and so forth, and raised it high enough to where I could get the wheels off. And naturally, you know, like most mechanics, I just started to pop off the wheel cover. It says this had hubcaps on it. he said, if you don't mind, would you care to put a cloth on the floor to lay the hubcaps on? I said, sure, no problem. I can do that. He says, I don't want my hubcap scratched. So I popped the hubcap off and let it down on a work on a cloth. I proceeded to start to take the lug nuts off. He said, wait, don't use an impact. I said, okay. He says, if you don't mind, mark those lug nuts so you can put them back on the studs you took them off. I thought this was going to be a easy brake job. RHC is going to get complicated. So I took the time out to mark each stud with welding chalk and proceeded to remove the lugs with the conventional 4-way lug wrench. I got them off. He said, before you take that wheel off, mark it so you can put it back on the exact studs that came off. I said, okay. So I marked the wheel and made an alignment mark to where I could put it back on the original studs. And I proceeded to remove the brake calipers. Now the brake pads were worn about 70%, thereabouts. And the guy says, I still want to replace them. I said, that's fine, I just thought I'd let you be aware. There was plenty of brake material left. And he brings out a box of brake pads for that car. And he informs me now, says, this set here is for the left side and this set here is for the right side. Which were identical, by the way. He says, I've had these weighed so they're perfectly balanced for each side. And they were numbered 1 and 2. And with a L and a R on them. I said, that's strange. So I removed the caliper and I removed the brake pads, the original ones. And the guy stood there and watched every move I made. Well, I followed through with the other side doing the same procedure. I put those on, by the way. He didn't want the rotors turned. He said he wouldn't make them out of balance. And they was in good shape. I always like to do about 2 or 3 thousandths turn when installing new brake pads. Give them a new mating surface, but he didn't want that. So I proceeded to do that. I got the brakes installed, and he wanted an oil change also. I raised the car up, and I never used an impact on an oil pan anyway, so that wasn't a problem, even though he mentioned not to do that. So I removed the oil plug and drained the oil. In the meantime, took the filter off, which I could get off by hand, which is the way it should be. I got the oil drained. I put the plug in, and I always use the torque wrench when installing the oil plug. Now I've lost that practice here, I don't have a torque wrench. Just so it wouldn't over tighten the drain plug. And I torqued it to the specifications for that car. I don't remember it now, how many foot-pounds it was, or inch-pounds. Just too many years went by. And I lowered the car and raised the hood, and it was immaculate underneath that hood. It was spotless. And I put some shop towels around the filler hole and removed the cap, because I already knew that he's going to say, I don't want oil on my engine. And I used an oversized funnel too, by the way. And I put the recommended amount of oil in the car, pulled the dipstick, wiped it, and put it back in and checked it again. Now I started to start the car and he wouldn't let me do that. He had to do it. So I was standing there, and he started the car and let it idle. And I asked him, did the oil pressure light go off? And he said, yes. I said, if you don't mind, let it run for a minute or so. So he did. He cut it off. And I said, if you don't mind, step out of the car. I want to raise it up and check for leaks. And he said, that's good. So I raised the car and I checked for leaks. I went underneath, and if there's any oil that I'd like on the oil filter and so forth, I wiped it clean and so forth. And I lowered the car, and I said, since we just installed brakes, I need to take it for a test drive. He says, I'll drive it. I said, well, I'll have to go with you so I can confirm everything. So I got one of the seat towels, seat covers, and put it on the passenger side, and he backed up, and I got in. And we hit the highway. On the highway, I noticed he never got above 45 miles an hour. Speed limit's 55 at the time, and we was on a 4-lane. He says, I don't overspeed my car. He says, I never exceed 45. I said, oh, I see. I said, how are the brakes? He said, they're perfect. I said, good. And we drove for about 30 minutes or so. And we come back to the dealership. He parked the car and went inside. And I reached the repair ticket to the service manager, and he took it to the counter. And he proceeded to pay his bill, and he went away as a happy camper. Amazing how some things in life sticks with you. The different types of people you come across in life. Like I said, that was a in-between job I did, because it didn't pay much at that time. I think I got, I'm trying to remember, I think it was $3 an hour maybe. I know it was very little. And but I was thinking about that guy today, this morning, just how particular he was with his vehicle. I'm curious if he's still driving it. But anyway, that's my story. And I thank everybody for sticking with me and listening to me chat. So if you don't mind, subscribe.